Good day, everyone. Mr. Comics A9 here to do an Amazing Spider-Man review of issues 11 and 12. These were pretty good issues. I really enjoyed them. You know, I like Hobgoblin. It's good to have Hobgoblin back. And well, we'll get down to the review. So first up, we have Amazing Spider-Man number 11 here. Let me get the book out. I love you too, puppy. Go lay down. Alright. Written by Zeb Wells, John Romita Jr. artwork, Scott Hanna inker, Marco Menez the color artist, and Joe Caramunga as the letterer. So, basically, we got Peter Parker calling in on Betty. He misunderstands that a newborn baby doesn't have a 10-year-old kid's chemistry set for a baby shower gift. Betty goes to the baby's room and sees the Hobgoblin holding her son, and she lets out a squeal of an ee sound. Meanwhile, at Oscorp, Peter and Kamala Khan, the intern, are basically being chewed out by Norman for not having the test on an engine done yet. Norman gets a phone call. Peter decides to take an early day. Goes swinging around New York with the Black Cat. And on a windy rooftop, he becomes a teenage boy again and tries to ask Black Cat out on a date. Which she says, probably. And he has weak at the knees and decides he'd better safer to probably walk home than try to swing home. Meanwhile, once Peter Parker gets home, he meets Ned Leeds, and Ned Leeds basically talks to Peter about Norman's up to something. You know, I'm sure of it. You work at Oscorp. You're my man on the inside. I can help. You can help me bring down Norman. Here's pictures of Roger Kingsley and Norman meeting together. All hush hush hush. Peter says, sorry, I can't do it. Ned says he'll take care of himself. Peter decides to go to Norman to basically confront him, and Norman's basically, I want to give things over, make things right, yada. I just draw up contracts and give Roderick his businesses back that I took off him by force all those years ago. And tells Peter the wrong night that he's meeting up with Roderick. And they have a little meeting here, and there's some sort of noise that they're hearing when Roderick and Norman are in an argument. And here it comes, with a lot of explosions and bangs and booms, the Hobgoblin. And at the same time, in Yorktown, you got another off-the-voice panel. Someone's talking to Baby Winston, and which is Ned's son. That don't worry, we did good tonight and all that. We'll take care of things, So, because Mama's asleep and you're there, so that was a very good story. I enjoyed having. I enjoyed the little asking out Black Cat. I don't think Peter would skip out on early work day, even if Norman's distracted by a phone call. That's a bit of a iffy, believable matter. But it's the Hobgoblin, and he's back. I love the Hobgoblin. Not as much as I love Green Goblin, but right now we don't have a Green Goblin now, do we? At least not one that we register. And what I really loved about this issue is I literally read in Spectacular Spider-Man the issue a few days before where Norman took basically the businesses from Kingsley because he was on the run and things like that or whatever. And then literally a few days later I read this issue and see about the same things. So even if there's no editor notes saying see Spectacular Spider-Man 159, I think, or something like that. And it was a good story. I enjoyed it. The explosions, you know, Norman and Kingsley, that full page splash page of the Hobgoblin was really good. Worst case flaw here is the cover. I'm not a fan of this cover. I mean, JR does good artwork, but that mask just doesn't look good like that. It just doesn't. Ultimately, I would give this, if I'm grading Amazing Spider-Man number 11, Legacy 905, I would give this issue, I would give this issue a B+. A solid B+, I think. You know, Hobgoblin's there, but there's a few things that don't quite make sense. You know, Peter leaving work, Ned's sudden interest in Norman, you know, exactly, and, you know, all the paranoia, you know, at least in this issue, it doesn't make sense. It didn't make sense. And the cover, so I give this issue a B+. All right, get some tea real quick first. There we go. Gotta wet my whistle. I'm gonna continue talking. All right, Amazing Spider-Man number 12, Legacy 906. Making our way to 1,000. Now this is a very cool JR cover. I loved this issue. In fact, I don't know if I just got this issue, or if I got the other issue. It might have just been this issue, this cover. But the whole Spider-Man, even if he's, you know, with or without the Norman spider costume, going up against the Hobgoblin in air like that, awesome. All right, we open up. Ambulances and police cars there. Wreckage of the Oscorp warehouse where they were doing their meeting. They're digging out survivors. First, Roderick Kingsley, and then Norman Osborn, who looks unconscious and more hurt than Kingsley was. Maybe that's partly because it looks like, well, no, I've assumed earlier on that Norman still has some of the goblin strength after all he crushed his phone. Kingsley definitely shows here like he looks like he still has the goblin strength of the formula. Basically, his minions are there. Kingsley's minions are there. Let's just get out of here. You know, we just need to get out of here before things happen or whatever. Norman goes off in an ambulance. Looks worse for wear. He wanted to be taken to I think he just didn't want to really be taken to the hospital. Looked like, you know, and then someone else saying it's part of protocol, and he's like, fine, I don't want to cause you trouble. Norman wakes up in the hospital with Peter going, you lied to me, Norman. You told me the wrong night. Norman like it handled itself, and guess he was wrong. Then it was the Hobgoblin that did it, but not so much Kingsley as he was with him when his men were slaughtered. Let's see. He's basically telling Peter that he didn't fight at all, and that he doesn't want to fight anymore, and because the stakes are too high for him, that any act of aggression could bring forth the goblin in him, or the way how he phrases it could lead to. The stakes are too high. Any act of aggression could be the one that leads to him, which was, as we say, Norman Osborn. Let's see, Ned Lee. Let's see. I forget what. I'm stumbling here for a second. Sorry. He tells Norman that Ned Leeds wanted him to look into him to his servers. He said that Norman was up to something, and he's going to be looking into Norman too. Norman tries to say, "You can trust me again, Peter," and then he says, "Did you or did you not just lie to me?" And he says, "Yeah, I guess I did." And therefore, he says, "Look, if Ned's mistaken about you, and you are telling the truth, I'll start trying to trust you." Which it seemed to me like he was already trying to trust Norman. I mean, the whole the Axe Judgment Day tie-in, when he's seeing the ghost of Gwen, and he's trying to explain to her why he's working for Norman, that he's trying to give him the benefit of the doubt, a second chance. And isn't that kind of trying to trust, or maybe he's giving him the second chance, but not trusting him? I guess it could be both. But Norman's basically saying, "I'll take it after Peter says if Ned's lying or Ned's mistaken, I will start trying to trust you." Peter goes to Betty and Ned's house. A little talk with her, and then finds out that about the story. Let's see. The story that Norman was working with Roger Kingsley, biggest story out of our lives. He's convinced that Osborn, for some reason, wants their baby because of the goblin serum in his blood, which doesn't make sense to me. After all, Norman would have access to the formula himself. Why would he need a baby? But he's like, he doesn't know where she doesn't know where Ned got it, but sometimes he comes home and he's wearing the Hobgoblin costume. He's wearing it again. Peter goes off flying to find Ned. He finds Ned, hunched over with pictures and lines everywhere, and hunched over documents on a laptop, and he's acting all crazy. They want my baby. Can't you see? Stupid bug. Then Spider-Man looks off and sees a machine, which turns out to be the Winkler device from Hobgoblin Lives. Makes it think that Ned's the Hobgoblin again. He's like, "No, you're trying to confuse me." We see Spider-Man's Spider-Sense goes off in a very cool rendition of it. We see a explosion, Hobgoblin basically coming in and jabbing Spider-Man in the back with his glider. Things happen, goes through the building. Ned Leeds is on the floor conscious. Peter, is getting flown somewhere on, like he's just trying not to die, and calls in his glider to catch him. And Hobgoblin's like, "Glider, is this a joke?" Clearly not. "Thanks, Bug." Talking to the glider, which I find this hilarious. Hobgoblin, a super criminal, is going, "You're cheating! You're cheating! You're not allowed a glider." This is just funny as hell. How dare you do my tricks? This is outrageous. It's just a lot of fun. A little ad for the relaunch of Miles Morales Spider-Man 1. We see Norman waking up in the hospital because his assistant dropped off work for him, assuming that he'd want to work. He just, instead of basically not doing anything, just leave my work, I'll do it, or whatever. Meanwhile, we flash back again to the Hobgoblin Spider-Man fight. And they're a little fight in the air. Spider-Man's, Hobgoblin's blasting at him. Spider-Man's using his non-violent weapons. Launches the little spiders to crawl into Ned's face again, or not the Hobgoblin's face again. And so he's like trying to get at him, or trying to pull off the things, pull off the spiders off his mask. We can see Spider-Man like knocks him off his glider, throws him into a water tower. Norman, typing away on his computer, gets a notification that the spider suit that is apparently connected to his servers for Spider-Man's wearing is picking up battle damage, and so he just clicks on the link or whatever and starts watching the fight. Peter rips off the mask after some more punching, and it's Roger Kingsley on the mask. But Spider-Sense tell him something's up again. But just He fires behind him somehow with these masks. Or his spider sense going off 10 crazy directions at once. No, not 10, 11. Because he had blocked an attack, but a glider struck Spider-Man from behind. Roderick puts the mask back on and saying, like, you should look harder at Ned Leeds. It was a pleasure to put him back where he belongs, in the Winkler device. One Hobgoblin is back, and Ned Leeds makes 2. So, the idea of 2 Hobgoblins at once is pretty cool. I have to say, I like that. I like that. It's a pretty cool idea. I mean, I don't want Ned. I mean, I don't know if Ned Leeds is back as a character for real, in a sense, back in Spider-Man. I don't know if I want him to be a willing complicist or an unwilling one. You know, I think that I'd rather him be I'm not sure if I want him to be brainwashed and into thinking he's a goblin, or willingly serving Roderick trying to take down Norman. But one thing's for sure, I do like the interaction between the two. It was a lot of fun. And that's the end of it. This awesome fight, between the Hobgoblin and Spider-Man was awesome. That part was no complaints at all. The spiders bots in his went into Kingsley's eyes and making him go blind, and Spider-Man knocked him out off his glider and threw him in the water tower. It was just awesome. The scenes were a little boring at the hospital with Norman. Just pardon me. But it was still pretty good. Ultimately, I found nothing really wrong with the story. I would give this issue gets, well, upon its second reading, it's higher than the first reading, than the first grade I would have given it. So, with the Winkler device and everything, I would give this a definite. I'd give issue number 12 here an A. So, same creators as last time. So the last book got a B+. This one gets an A, which is about the highest grade I would give an ASM book, honestly. There's a few books here that'll get, you don't usually get higher than an A unless it's an A+. But there's just a few things, one or two little to keep it from an A+. Maybe this next issue will be an A+. Who knows? I guess this is where the Golden Goblin comes in. So, those are my reviews of Amazing Spider-Man, issue 11 and 12. I appreciate you guys listening on the Comic Collector's Corner podcast, as well as watching this episode if you're watching the video on my YouTube channel, Mr. Comics 89. Thank you guys for tuning in. If you're watching this on YouTube, hit that like and subscribe button, and check me out for more future videos. And if you're listening, well, just in general, should I say, thank you guys, and I'll see you guys next time. Happy collecting. I'll talk to you later.